All right, let's watch our MC squeeze into this awkwardly tight suit, marrying a woman who probably saved his contact as temporary husband, his own relatives. And so-called friends constantly mocked him behind his back, calling him a gold digger punching. Way above his weight class, they whispered he was just a glorified stand-in. After Vivian got dumped by her first love, on their actual wedding night she pulled the classic neat freak excuse just to sleep in a completely separate room, even their so-called shared house was basically a free hotel to her, using work as an excuse. She ghosted her own home, not returning for half a month, but Ben didn't make a fuss, didn't throw a single tantrum. He just kept pouring all his effort into treating her perfectly. That was until a little over a month ago, the night Vivian's first love returned from abroad. Ben accidentally overheard the teary-eyed man ask her, "Now that I am back, are you still willing to give me a home?" Vivian stayed totally silent for a moment before firmly answering, "I am willing." At that exact second, Ben realized his free trial as a husband was officially over. Time to give the seat back. "Do you really want to let Vivian go abroad?" In the quiet cafe, Ben put down his spoon and looked right at the person sitting across from him, his best friend Sam. Looked like his brain completely short-circuited. Ben replied with a super calm tone, "She and I are already divorced." Divorced? Hearing such explosive news out of absolutely nowhere was just way too much. Sam was utterly shell-shocked. The very next second, he was furious on Ben's behalf. "Vivian actually agreed. You have treated her like an absolute queen for 3 whole years. Even a literal rock would have warmed up by now. Does she seriously have zero feelings for you?" Ben smiled, his eyes flickering slightly. "Honestly, I do not even know if she agreed or not. Half a month ago, he handed her the divorce papers. She was busy on a call, blindly signed them without hearing a single word he said, and rushed off. She hasn't asked a single question since. Now he just has to wait another half a month, grab that official divorce certificate, and he will finally be a free man." Ben was just about to explain more when a soft female voice came from behind them. "Are you two done talking?" Both guys turned their heads in unison to see Vivian rocking an elegant black dress, taking long strides toward them. Sam was still drowning in pure anger, totally ready to march up and interrogate her. "Didn't you and Ben get a divorce? Why are you even here?" Ben patted Sam's shoulder to calm him down and shook his head. Actually, Ben saw the heavy rain and figured he would catch a ride with Vivian since it was right on the way. Only then did he smile. After saying goodbye to Sam, Ben stood up, grabbed his bags, and left with her. On the drive back, the rain was absolutely pouring, but inside that car, dead silent, stick with me here, facing the husband she had mistakenly married all those long years ago. Vivian slightly parted her lips a few times, really trying to speak. She was probably looking for a topic to break the icy tension. But realizing she had not been home in half a month, she opted for a painfully long, awkward silence. Finally, as if suddenly remembering something important, she asked, "Ben, that document you asked me to sign half a month ago, what exactly was it?" Ben twitched his lips, just about to answer her, when Vivian's phone started ringing loudly. "Vivian, I drank way too much. My head is killing me. Can you come pick me up?" Vivian gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. "Chad, I have told you so many times that I am married." The other end of the line went completely silent for a moment. "All right, get this," Chad sneers. "So what if you're married?" The groom was supposed to be me anyway. That arrogant tone completely shatters the tension. For 3 years of marriage, Ben had only seen his wife absolutely calm, freezing cold, and totally composed, but right now, she completely loses it. Vivian slams the brakes so hard the tires scream on the asphalt, nearly launching Ben straight through the windshield. "So are you coming or not?" Chad pushes, then dead silence hits. "I am sorry, I won't bother you anymore." He hangs up, but Vivian's face does not improve at all. She looks furious, tapping her fingers aggressively against the steering wheel. After a long, tense pause, she finally gives in. Sighing heavily, she texts back, "Send me the address." The location immediately pops on The screen, she turns to Ben looking totally guilty. He already knows what she is about to say, so he just beats her to it. If you are busy, just go, I can catch a cab. Ben opens the car door, stepping out into the pouring rain with his umbrella. Looking super guilty, Vivian mutters softly, I will return to you when I finish. Ben nods. He stands alone, watching the shadow of her car speeding off into the night. His eyes show real heartbreak. Amidst the massive downpour, Ben shoots Vivian a quick text. The document you wanted is in the glove box on my side. If you really want to know, just read it. It takes a solid half hour for Ben to get home before Vivian actually texts back. Just one short line. No need. Whatever you gave me to sign definitely wouldn't hurt me. The rain absolutely dumps down, not stopping until the very next evening. Ben stays completely isolated at home. Checking his phone, he notices Chad just posted 9 new photos, a massive yacht vacation shoot. Every single shot is absolutely perfect, subtly flexing a woman's delicate hand in frame. Ben knows it is Vivian right away. Chad posted it just to flex, but honestly, Ben does not care about this childish drama anymore. Just as he finishes putting together a simple dinner, Vivian suddenly walks in. You hate sweets, right? Why buy a random birthday cake? She walks over, glaring down at his basic dinner, frowning slightly. Today is your birthday, Ben, did you forget? Why eat something so incredibly cheap? Staring down at the number 24 candles, Ben feels entirely dead inside. He just nods very politely, muttering a quiet, thanks. Vivian lights up the candles, smiling. Softly, Ben, we are married. Do not act so formal with me. Make a wish. He nods, getting ready to stand up, but her phone suddenly rings again. Seeing her eyes dart nervously, Ben already knows exactly who is calling her now. He sits back down. Predictably, 1 minute later, she hangs up the phone and walks right out, listening to her car engine fade into the distance. A deeply bitter smile touches his face. He leaves the room completely dark. The flickering candles cast his lonely silhouette on the wall. He presses his hands together, making his 24th birthday wish. He wishes to stop loving his wife. 3 days later, we head to the tech department class of 2021 reunion. Ben arrives, only to see Vivian there too. Everyone surrounds her like an absolute superstar. But she walks straight over and sits right beside him. Seeing them together, the room gets super awkward real fast. Ben knows he is the main problem here. To his old classmates, his marriage to Vivian looks like a broke, desperate peasant trying to climb the social ladder. Naturally, everyone looks completely down on him. You and I know Ben didn't care about their toxic whispers. He just sat there, quiet. The class president finally showed up, hauling a massive cardboard box, and greeted everyone. I brought you all here today for 2 reasons. First, to catch up. Second, remember that activity where we wrote letters to our future selves 5 years ago? Well, time is up. We are reading them together today. Instantly, the room exploded into excited chatter. They decided to make a fun game. Out of it, everyone picks a random letter and reads it aloud. I will go first. The loudest guy in the class pushed right through the heavy crowd and grabbed the first envelope. The people around him, starving for gossip, urged him on. Hurry up, open it. He cleared his throat, ripped it open, and read. To Ben, 5 years from now, how are you? I am writing this letter under the sun. I have no idea where you are or what mood you are in reading this, but I need to convey my current feelings to you. Well, after hearing that first part, the entire room fell dead silent. Then, a massive wave of eyes slowly shifted straight toward Ben. Vivian, who was glued to her phone, suddenly looked up. Pure shock hit her face as she stared right at the person beside Ben. Tracy. Ben kept a total poker face, but knowing what was inside that specific letter, his heart was absolutely pounding. The reader shot Ben a smirk and happily continued. Reading, this year you are 19. You like Vivian, but she has no idea, honestly. Even if she knew, nothing would change because she already has a guy she likes. This secret crush is a total dead end. You might be asking me, if you know it is a dead end, why not give up? I will tell you what I love is her youthful charm, her absolute bravery to charge forward through any crowd. It is her accidentally picking up my dropped book in the cool evening breeze. It is her polite, totally sincere attitude, even when shooting down other guys' confessions, every single week at morning assembly, the guy straining his neck just to peek at her until it hurts is me, hearing she got hurt dancing, then braving a massive storm too. Sneak medicine into her desk, me, the guy who stayed up all night just writing her name in his diary, me. Maybe in this lifetime she will never even remember who I am, but that is fine. A secret crush is just a beautifully chaotic one man war. After that letter dropped, the room was so silent you could hear a pin drop. Vivian completely froze. Her mind instantly flashed back to that exact year, too. That disaster wedding she desperately wanted to forget. She remembered how, amidst all those mocking stares, the one person who stood up without a single second of hesitation and walked firmly right to her side was Ben. Now, you and I see the truth hit her. She finally realized why he married her, not to climb the social ladder like everyone claimed. It was simply because Ben had secretly loved her for all those long, silent years. In that exact instant, her frozen heart suddenly and inexplicably started racing like absolute crazy. Overwhelmed with heavy emotion, she desperately wanted to ask Ben about those deep questions burning inside her chest, but right before she could even open her mouth to speak, Chad called her phone. Vivian, I am downstairs at the club right now. Blocked by debt collectors. Before he could even finish his sentence, Vivian's entire expression turned lethal. She abruptly stood up and dashed straight down the stairs. Seeing that aggressive group of thugs, she immediately led her crew to charge right in, fists swinging. Fueled by absolute rage, she hit hard and ruthlessly, just brutal. Were enough to make someone cough up blood. A whole group of guys rushes in, quickly shielding Chad behind them. Vivian, she grabs a heavy iron pipe lying nearby and smashes it right into the thug's arm. A blood-curdling scream echoes through the air. You and I follow Ben downstairs, just in time to witness this exact scene. Looking at that bloody, basically shattered arm, he is completely stunned. He instinctively looks up at Vivian, watching her shield Chad as they walk away. The girl who was utterly ruthless a second ago is now so soft and gentle, comforting the guy quietly. This right here is a level of care Ben has never received. He lowers his eyes, burying those emotions deep inside, lets out a bitter laugh, and quietly turns around to head home. It is not until dawn that Vivian finally returns, seeing Ben sitting silently on the sofa. She finally remembers to offer an excuse. Ben, they were all just classmates today. I could not ignore Chad. Ben has absolutely no intention of calling out her obvious lies. He just hums, grabs his pajamas, and walks straight into the bathroom. Half an hour later, he walks out drying his hair, only to find Vivian holding his phone with a really weird expression. Ben, why did you buy a plane ticket? Startled, he quickly reacts and snatches his phone back. It is probably just a promotional spam message from an airline. Vivian wants to ask more, but seeing his reluctance to speak, she swallows her questions down. She puts his phone down, nods, and gets ready to wash up, but Ben calls her back, grabbing a first aid kit from the cabinet. Your back got cut by glass. Let me clean it up for you. Vivian pauses, then obediently sits right on the sofa. She takes off her jacket, revealing several cuts. The wounds are not deep, but since they are on her back, no one noticed. Honestly, even we did not expect Ben to be the one paying attention. She watches him carefully disinfect every single cut with a cotton swab. Thinking about that letter from earlier today, she suddenly looks up. About that letter today, just put some ointment on after you shower, Ben interrupts smoothly. Otherwise, it will get infected. Try being more careful. You are street fighting next time. Do not get hurt, because there won't be anyone around to help apply medicine. Her train of thought completely derailed. Vivian does not quite catch what he just said. She looks up, totally confused. What did you say? He shakes his Head secures the bandage and turns to walk straight into the bedroom. By the time he finishes drying his hair, Vivian is also done showering and walks out. She proactively wraps her arms right around his waist, standing on her tiptoes, wanting to kiss him, but Ben turns his head, dodging that slightly heated kiss. I am not feeling well today, he says completely flatly. I want to rest early. Vivian does not force it at all. She helps him turn off the lights. The next morning is absolutely beautiful. Ben is washing up when he hears a loud commotion downstairs. He finishes getting ready and walks out only to see Chad leading a whole group of people inside. Vivian is leaning against the door, frowning hard, her tone reverting to its usual annoyance. What are you doing here? Before Chad can even open his mouth, his bros chuckle and step right forward. Chad says you saved him yesterday. He is very grateful, so he insisted on coming here personally to apologize. Before they even finish speaking, Chad, acting like a magician, pulls out a massive bouquet of fresh flowers and an exquisitely wrapped gift right from behind his back. Let us watch this mess unfold. Vivian, thanks for yesterday. Here is a token of my appreciation. Vivian did not even reach for it, but her cold expression softened. Significantly, Chad noticed this and casually shoved the flowers toward Ben, his tone totally lacking any manners. These are Juliet roses, Vivian's favorite. Hey, do Ben a favor and put them in a vase. Vivian frowned slightly, a sharp hint of coldness entered her voice. Do not stick my name on things you like. Plus, Ben is my husband. Do not order him around like a servant. The atmosphere in the room instantly dropped below freezing. Ben was the only guy whose expression remained completely unchanged. He stared down at the roses. Juliet, it was the first time he ever heard that name, so Chad actually liked them. No wonder his wife spent so much money growing them in their greenhouse. But Ben kept quiet. He simply handed the flowers to a nearby maid and gave some quick instructions. Please go grab a few crystal vases from the display cabinet upstairs and bring them straight down. Chad shot Ben a very loaded look. Ben pretended not to notice anything and carried his breakfast right out to the balcony, separated by the glass window. He could clearly hear their entire conversation inside. Hey, Vivian. Is this the paper crane I folded back in elementary school? Why did you keep it sealed in a crystal box? Do you love it that much? I will make you a whole box tomorrow. And is this that maple leaf we found at Shangyun Mountain? You even made a bookmark out of it and saved it. Hearing Chad gasp dramatically, like he just dug up ancient treasure, Ben remembered the very first time he moved into this villa. He had asked Vivian where all those items came from. Just little gifts from a younger cousin in kindergarten, so I saved them, she had claimed. Back then, Ben foolishly believed his wife, completely ignoring the deeply conflicting emotions hiding in her eyes, that undeniable mix of love, lingering attachment, and bitter regret. These were clearly the lingering remnants of her grand romance. Stick with me here. After a noisy morning, Chad offered to treat everyone. Vivian immediately refused him. No need, you have done enough, please leave. Chad acted totally deaf. He just grabbed her hand and pulled her straight toward the door. His buddies, afraid she might bail, casually dragged Ben right out the door with them. The whole group drove out to a hot spring resort. Ben barely knew them, so he definitely could not blend in. Ben refused to join their silly circus anyway. He sat alone in a corner watching them cheer, drink, and party. Vivian finally noticed his discomfort and walked over, aiming to pour him a nice glass of juice. Ben was just about to accept it, but she suddenly bolted up and marched straight into the noisy crowd. She snatched a glass of whiskey right before it even touched Chad's lips. Then a furious shout echoed through the room. You are allergic to alcohol and you still dare to drink? Do you have a death wish? Chad blinked, looking at her with a completely innocent expression. I thought this was juice. Someone just handed it to me. Why are you so mad? Saying that, Chad casually took the glass of juice from her hand, his eyes curving into a warm smile. Thank you. Vivian froze, her hands balling into Tight fists, ultimately, she said absolutely nothing. She turned around, walking straight back to her original spot, and awkwardly handed the whiskey in her hand over to Ben. Looking at her guilty demeanor and that orange liquor resting in the glass, Ben did not reach out. He grabbed his bag and stood up. "I do not drink," he said. "Softly, I'm hitting the hot springs first." Right then, Vivian finally realized that she had handed him the completely wrong drink. Her mind was so full of Chad, she'd accidentally given Ben hard liquor instead of juice. She wanted to explain herself. But Ben was already gone. He walked off before she even had a chance to speak. The steamy hot spring finally relaxed his exhausted mind. He leaned against the stone wall, watching that endless white steam roll by, and slowly felt sleepy. He passed out without even realizing it, maybe because he was so used to their constant drama he completely missed the loud knocking outside. Vivian called out his name repeatedly. Getting absolutely no response, she started panicking and forcefully pushed the heavy door open. Seeing Ben totally unresponsive, her heart actually skipped a beat. She hurriedly jumped right into the water to prop him up. Ben groggily opened his eyes, losing his balance. He had absolutely no choice but to grab onto her shoulders. The thick steam surrounded them, skin touching. For one split second, the whole vibe turned dangerously tense. Vivian couldn't help but lift up on her tiptoes, right as their breaths mingled. Chaotic, heavy footsteps suddenly burst right into the steamy room. Chad stormed in right behind them. Seeing this exact moment, his smug smile instantly froze. He bit his lip hard, trying to hide the pure shock and hurt in his eyes, clenched both fists and bolted. Vivian's whole body went totally rigid. Her very first instinct, drop her husband and chase Chad, leaving Ben with just one pathetic excuse. He misunderstood everything. "I need to go explain." "Misunderstood? You and I both know they're legally married, even if they were kissing." What was there to even explain? The harsh truth was that she was still hopelessly stuck in the past, still playing the role of Chad's devoted girlfriend. That's why her instinct was chasing him. Watching his wife sprint away, Ben just let out a bitter smile. His eyes turned completely red. Grabbing a towel around his waist, he opened the window for fresh air, only to see Chad furiously storming outside. He slammed his car door violently, but Vivian desperately grabbed his arm. Their screaming match echoed clearly up to Ben's window. Ben fell asleep. "I was just terrified he'd catch a cold." "Do you really have to be this angry? He's your literal husband. Do I even have the right to be mad? Just go back to him." "Why am I even explaining myself to an ex like you? Chad, do you really have to be so cruel? What am I saying? Everything I'm saying is the absolute truth." With that, the fight exploded. Chad, eyes furious, shoved her away, jumped into his car, and peeled off. Vivian was left standing right there, completely stunned for 10 seconds before driving off to chase him. Watching that quiet road with the dust settling, Ben abruptly turned around and marched straight to the locker room. By the time he changed and came out, he was grabbed by a bunch of Chad's buddies, who were literally stamping their feet in panic. "Brother-in-law, something terrible happened. Vivian and Chad just got into a massive car crash." "All right, stick with me here." The guys rushed over, finding Vivian waiting outside the operating room. She was entirely covered in blood, cold sweat dripping down her face, her eyes wide with absolute terror. It was Ben's first time seeing her look so utterly pathetic. The guys surrounded her, demanding answers. She just pulled her hair in agonizing regret, voice trembling with immense pain. "It is all my fault. I never should have said those things to make him mad. I shouldn't have." You and I watched Ben let him drive off alone. Chad was throwing a massive tantrum. He drove way too fast and completely crashed. Suddenly, a nurse walks out, looking absolutely grim. Chad has massive blood loss, but the hospital's blood bank is facing a huge shortage. Without hesitating, Vivian rips off her coat, throwing on sterile surgical scrubs, and marches right into the operating room to help. Hours tick by slowly. The red surgical light finally clicks off. Sweaty and tired, the doctor wheels Both of them out, the anxious group jumps up, totally surrounding the hospital bed. The doctor wipes his forehead, looking at an unconscious Vivian. He sighs in pure admiration. These two lovers, truly rare to see a girl this wildly devoted. Ben just lags behind, completely alone, staring up at the blinding lights. Our guy gives a silent, bitter chuckle. It takes until noon the next day for Vivian to finally, groggily, wake up. She's barely conscious, yet her very first words out loud are, "Did Chad have a good surgery? Is he awake yet?" Watching her absolutely frantic expression, Ben nods. He had stayed awake all night. His voice is hoarse. The doctor said Chad is safe. He just needs a solid few months of rest to recover. Hearing this news, the massive, heavy boulder crushing Vivian's chest finally drops away, but she is still deeply anxious. She throws off her blanket, demanding to get out of bed, swearing she desperately needs to see Chad with her own eyes. Ben tries stopping her, but she totally refuses. Finally, a nurse walks in to swap her IV bag and firmly manages to hold her down. Vivian stares at the giant IV, real panic flashing in her tired eyes. Her heart is entirely consumed by worry for Chad. Seconds later, she glances right at that fruit basket on the bedside table, quickly finding an excuse. "Hey, Ben. Yesterday I called his parents. They should be flying back right now. They might even be inside the hospital already. Could you carry this fruit basket over to them? And say hello. Also, please check on how Chad is doing." Ben stares at her for a long, heavy moment before simply muttering, "Sure." Our guy grabs the fruit basket and steps out. Chad is resting just one floor up. Ben almost knocks, but he notices the door is cracked open. Peeking inside, he spots Chad tightly hugging some strange woman. His voice is dripping with honey. "Babe, didn't you say you would take me to meet your parents today? Why come alone?" She smiles. "I wanted to bring them. But you literally just survived surgery. The timing is terrible. We can wait until you leave the hospital, then we will go, okay?" Overhearing this sickening conversation, Ben's hand suddenly clenches into a tight fist. Chad is dating someone else and is already doing the whole meet the parents routine. Suddenly, a doctor doing rounds accidentally pushes the hospital door wide open, shocking the couple inside. Chad looks up immediately. Spotting Ben, his smug face totally drops. "What are you doing here?" Ben stays silent, putting the fruit basket on the cold floor. He just turns around, walking downstairs, dragging his injured body. Chad frantically chases Ben to the stairwell, grabbing his arm. "Are you planning to go snitch about me to Vivian?" Ben tilts his head, glaring at the pure panic flashing across his rival's face. His voice goes ice cold. "You have a girlfriend right now. Why are you still stringing Vivian along, refusing to just let her go?" Hearing that question, Chad raises an eyebrow. His expression quickly returns to its usual arrogant self. "Honestly, brace yourselves. I like having my cake and eating it too. I like playing both these girls in the palm of my hand. I enjoy how well they treat me." Ben couldn't hold back. "Must you really trample on her genuine feelings for you like this?" Seeing Ben's righteous anger, Chad just let out a scoff, his voice dripping with pure arrogance. "I've got the charm to make them all go crazy for me, even Vivian the heiress is absolutely no exception. What are you jealous? Just admit it. Maybe I'll teach you a few tricks." Chad's unbearable arrogance left our guy Ben completely speechless, but this silence only fueled his ego. Chad looked Ben up and down, gaze finally locking onto Ben's wedding ring. "You're just a nobody. What gives you the right to act all high and mighty? I don't mind telling you the truth. Back then, I never even went abroad. I just got insanely drunk with some older guys and partied all night. I simply overslept the next day. Honestly, if Vivian hadn't thrown a petty tantrum at me, you'd never, ever have had the chance to become her husband." The anger Ben had suppressed for years finally exploded. He couldn't hold back anymore. Ben raised his hand and slapped Chad hard across the face. It wasn't even a heavy hit, but watch this, guys. Chad acted like he'd been struck by a cannonball, tumbling dramatically down the stairs. Before Ben could even process what just happened, Vivian stepped right out of the elevator and violently shoved him Aside, rushing downstairs with a totally heartbroken expression, she gently cradled the bruised and battered Chad in her arms. She glared up at Ben with pure fury. He didn't do anything to you. Why would you hit him? Chad, playing the victim intentionally, showed off the red handprint on his face. Forget it, Vivian. Ben probably got jealous because I'm your ex. I really don't blame him. Let's just go. Those manipulative words completely choked back everything Ben wanted to say. Watching his wife's face darken even more, Ben knew that explaining anything now would be totally pointless. To Vivian, his absolute silence was basically an admission of guilt. Completely disappointed, she helped Chad up and walked away, not giving Ben a single backward glance. Right after leaving the hospital, Ben got a cold call from HR, saying his departure paperwork was ready. He collected all his documents and immediately started packing his bags. Ben tore a page off his desk calendar every single day, and soon enough, there were 0 left. Stick with me because everything changes here. Ben was about to leave the city he had called home for over 2 decades. During this entire week, Vivian didn't come home once. Chad, however, sent a barrage of highly provocative messages every single day. Day 7 of the countdown, a video. There was Vivian, half kneeling on the floor, gently massaging Chad's calf. Her movements were just incredibly gentle. Watching this madness, Ben threw everything he had bought for her over the years straight into the trash. Day 5 of the countdown, a few photos. Now Vivian had brought over a jewelry box, happily slipping a new ring onto Chad's finger. Ben casually smashed their wedding photo and tossed it straight into the fireplace. Day 3 of the countdown brought an audio recording. Vivian was asleep, softly murmuring Chad's name, her tone deep and sincere. Ben packed up every single gift she had ever given him since they got married and shipped it all off to a charity. The massive villa he once considered a real home slowly emptied out. The few belongings Ben actually owned were neatly boxed up. The household staff, watching this brutal severance unfold, grew super anxious and asked him several times what was going on. Ben just smiled, his tone incredibly light. It's just a divorce. Did the miss agree to it? I don't know, but I think if Vivian saw the divorce agreement right now, she would probably be. She is thrilled. Right now, her heart is completely occupied by Chad anyway. Day 2 of the countdown, Chad sends another message. This time, the camera isn't focused on Vivian, but on her parents, looking at that photo of the 3 of them beaming around his hospital bed. You and I know his heart feels absolutely nothing. He still does not reply. Instead, he opens his contacts and deletes Chad, Vivian, and absolutely everyone connected to them. The first snow of the year falls right on his departure day. He carries the diaries he packed last night and those unsent love letters out to the garden. The warm firelight illuminates his face, slowly burning away the written records of his teenage crush. He looks up at the swirling snowflakes. How long before this heavy snow finally covers up these ashes? As he zones out, the heavy gates suddenly swing open. Vivian, whom he hasn't seen in days, is finally back. She glances at him squatting by the fire, then walks straight into the living room. Coming back out, she stops right next to him. Spotting those light pink envelopes, she inevitably remembers that old letter from their reunion, and her heart, angry for so incredibly long, finally softens. I have been busy lately. Give me a few days to finish up and we will have a proper talk, okay? Talk about the divorce. He just chuckles, softly looking right up at her. His voice is totally detached. No need, I already gave you what you wanted a month ago. What thing? What are you talking about? Vivian is about to ask when her phone chimes repeatedly. She opens the messages and her eyes instantly curl into a smile. Seeing that expression, our guy simply tosses the very last love letter into the fire and stands up. His tall frame blocks the burning flames behind him. By the time Vivian finishes replying, the letters are burned to a crisp. She completely forgets what she was asking. He personally walks her to the door and opens the car door for her. A cold gust of wind blows by. Seeing him dressed lightly, she tells him to go inside before He catches a cold, but he deliberately stays by the door to see her off. Through the car window, Vivian sees him raise a hand to wave, softly saying something she cannot quite catch. She assumes it is just a typical have a safe trip. She has heard that reminder countless times over the past 3 years, so she doesn't take it to heart. The car starts and quickly vanishes. From his sight, he stands alone in the snow for a long time before returning to his room. He puts on his coat, grabs his luggage, and heads downstairs. The snow is falling heavier now, landing right on his head. From a distance, it looks like white hair. A taxi pulls up in front of the villa. Before getting in, he turns back for one last look and repeats the words she missed. Goodbye, Jing Bei. Goodbye, Vivian. Meanwhile, Vivian drives straight to the hospital. Today is the day Chad is finally getting discharged. Last night, he whined about wanting to look at childhood photos, which is exactly why she made a trip home. As she carries the heavy bag to the elevator, she brushes past a strange woman. From this person, she catches a faint whiff of a familiar perfume. Chad's absolute favorite scent, and this woman just walked out of his room. Is she a friend of his? A sharp hint of suspicion arises in Vivian's mind, but the elevator arrives quickly, so she does not overthink it and presses the button for the 7th floor. As soon as he sees her, a huge smile blooms on Chad's face. Our two leads flipped through an old photo album, totally lost in nostalgia, talking about their childhood easily pushed every other worry out of Vivian's mind. Right around noon, Chad's parents finally showed up at the hospital to collect him. Spotting Vivian, they showered her with gratitude. She politely brushed it off. She stayed incredibly humble. She told them she felt responsible for his injuries. Taking care of him was the absolute least she could do. Chad just reached out. He gave her hand a gentle pat. He insisted the accident was not her fault. He had already cleared things up with his parents. Please stop blaming yourself. Chad's mother nodded along. She admitted they were always buried in their work. If Vivian had not stepped up to care for him, who knows what would happen. He would probably be in an absolute mess right now. They truly owed her big time. She pulled her son closer to Vivian, reminding her that they were all adults now. Since Vivian was married with her own family, she claimed Chad was just being immature. She apologized for him bothering her, promising to finally discipline him the right way. They promised he would never bother her again. Suddenly, the whole room went dead cold. Vivian caught the hidden warning loud and clear. For a split second, her breath actually hitched, then she quickly smoothed it over, the warm smile on. Her face completely vanished, replaced by stiff, polite manners. Chad's face tightened up too, but he played totally dumb about his mother's obvious little hint. He shot Vivian a smirk, trying desperately to pivot. He joked that they grew up together, so it was never a bother. She even promised to drive him straight home. Vivian glanced up, ready to agree, but then she caught the intense, judging stares of his parents. The words died on her tongue, quickly shifting into a complete excuse. She lied, saying her secretary just called about a massive emergency over at her company. Since his folks were already here, she figured she would stop intruding on their family. Without another word, she spun around to leave, but before she could even take 3 steps, his mother called out, pressing that old photo album right back into her hands. She told Vivian that Chad had wronged her back then, but he was just young. He never understood true love, so she told Vivian to let it all go. Seeing this woman who practically raised her looking so guilty, Vivian just offered a slight shake. She softly replied that the past was dead. She held absolutely zero hatred for Chad. She begged them not to worry at all. His mother sighed, her eyes heavy with obvious regret. She admitted her son was the unlucky one, and they were never destined to get married anyway. But then she brought up Vivian's new husband, praising his loyalty. She heard he was a sensible guy who treated Vivian like absolute royalty. She urged Vivian to cherish him. That was a man truly worthy of her devotion. He was the guy she would actually grow old with. Vivian knew his mother meant Well, but she also knew her long history with Chad died on the exact day. She spitefully tied the knot with a completely different guy for 3 whole years now. She tried burying her past to build a decent life with Ben, but you see, she had loved Chad for 18 years. How do you just snap your fingers and simply erase all those feelings? So when he came back from overseas and kept relentlessly chasing her heart eventually melted a bit. They couldn't be together, but their deep bond as friends was still alive. Using that exact logic, she basically gave herself permission to keep running right back into his orbit. Honestly, every single time Chad reached out, still loved her, her heart totally fluttered. But honestly, those moments were just brief. Like wind over a lake, ripples formed, then quickly vanished without a single trace. Every single time she almost fell back in reality hit, Ben was actually her husband. Again and again, Vivian felt completely trapped in this emotional maze, unable to find a way out. But hearing those exact words, that brought a sudden, massive wake-up call. She remembered that snowy morning. Ben stood there watching her until her car completely vanished. Pure warmth surged straight into Vivian's heart right then. She bowed deeply toward Mother Chad, speaking with absolute sincerity. "Thank you, Auntie, for telling me all of this. I finally understand." After leaving the hospital, Vivian headed straight back to her family home. Her mother called her right into the study. Her face looked completely serious. "When you first got married, I thought Ben wasn't a good match for you. Honestly, I had major doubts about him. But seeing how he cared for you these past 3 years, perfectly managing the household, taking such good care of us, I finally let go of my old grievances. You are not a kid anymore. There are things I really hate to nag about, but let the past stay dead. Stop clinging to it. You have such a good eye for people. You chose a fantastic husband. Settle down now and live a happy life. Marriage is not like dating. It is like a slow-cooked meal. It is purely about endurance. You and Ben had zero romantic foundation before tying the knot. Plus, you are both so young. There are simply things you must communicate clearly and quickly to stop huge, nasty misunderstandings from piling up. Do you get it?" "Yes, Mom." Vivian absolutely did not expect her usually strict mother to say such emotional things, but deep down, she knew her mother was totally right. Bowing respectfully, she replied, "You are right, I know exactly what to do." Her mother nodded. Then she slowly pulled out a box and pushed it right across the desk. "Your grandmother gave me this bracelet when I married. Give it to Ben. Your father has his big birthday coming up soon. Bring him home so the entire family can eat a meal together." Vivian gently opened the box, staring at that stunning green jade bangle. Inside, she was completely stunned. Now, let's flash back to her wedding 3 years ago. It was an absolute disaster. Chad called in, loudly announcing over the phone to every single guest that the wedding was officially canceled. Relatives from both sides instantly looked disgusted and walked right out. Vivian stood alone on stage, her heart shattered to ashes. Grabbing the microphone, she prepared to unleash all those heavy, suppressed emotions and scream it out. Honestly, she had no clue what she was going to say until Ben suddenly stood up, got shoved backstage by her terrified bridesmaids, and then stepped right into her line of sight. Only then did reality hit as the wedding music played. She clearly remembered him, wearing that slightly oversized suit, marching firmly toward her, step by steady step. He stood right beside her, facing thousands of cruel, mocking stares from the crowd below without showing a single hint of fear or hesitation. Maybe infected by his fierce resolve, Vivian's broken heart sparked with a bit of reckless, wild courage. Even though she literally did not know her groom's name, she made a silent promise. She would spend her entire life protecting the man who slipped that ring onto her finger so well. She would absolutely never betray the hand that reached out to her during her absolute darkest hour. Vivian slid the little bracelet box into the compartment, but wait, right before closing it, a weird document folder caught her eye. She frowned hard. When did she even put that there? Zero memories attached. She was About to pull it out when her phone rang. It was Chad. Vivian, my parents left. My friends heard I got discharged. They want to throw a massive party. Are you done working yet? Come hang out with us. But this time, Vivian completely shot him down. Zero hesitation. Chad's voice instantly dropped, totally ready to start. Whining like usual, she just used a fake meeting excuse and hung up the call. She shut the car compartment and drove straight home. The huge villa was suspiciously quiet today. Vivian glanced around. Something in the living room was completely missing. Her old hair clip she left right on the coffee table months ago, the water cup on the dining table, even the sofa pillows, every single one was gone. Just trivial little things her husband Ben had bought her. Normally, she never would notice, but honestly, you and I can tell something felt seriously off today. She flagged down the butler, demanding to know why half the house was suddenly empty. The master threw them out. The old man answered politely. He slowly looked up, checking her reaction. He hesitated, then asked, "Miss, are you really going to split with the master?" Before he finished, her phone buzzed loudly. "Hey, Vivian. The snow is crazy out here. You are definitely stuck inside. Seriously, how long has it been since you partied with us? Come on, get up, we are grabbing drinks." Whole squad of her besties basically kicked her door down, linking arms and dragging Vivian outside with zero arguments. That harsh word divorce the butler was just about to drop, instantly swallowed right back down. Even though her friends said they were drinking, they knew Vivian had poor health, so they only dared to serve her pure water. Watching the girls play drinking games, she took 2 sips of water and grabbed her phone, pulling up Ben's contact info. She quickly typed a message. "Did you head out today? Where exactly are you? When are you coming home? Send me your location right now. I will pick you up. The roads are super slippery with all this snow. Be careful." But right before hitting send, one of her close friends hung up a call looking completely pale. She yanked Vivian up and suddenly shouted at the rest of the table, sounding totally frantic, "Get up, we are moving. Change of venue now. There is some crazy juicy drama." Everyone was super confused by her messy rambling, but hearing about drama, the whole squad got hyped and crammed into the cars anyway. During the ride, they kept demanding the location, but her friend stayed totally silent. She just kept stealing these guilty sideways glances at Vivian. Their random destination was some bar they had never visited. Right before stepping out of the car, her friend pushed Vivian up front, saying something totally cryptic. "Look, Vivian, there are certain rumors I have been hearing for a while now. I swear I held it in until I physically could not anymore. Whatever you see inside, please do not blame me. I am only doing this for your own good." They were childhood best friends. Hearing her sound so dead serious, the warm smile on Vivian's face completely vanished. She stared hard at the heavy bar door right ahead, took one deep breath, and shoved it wide open. Now brace yourselves, because the scene inside unfolded right before everyone's eyes. The main hall was practically glowing, people completely lost in that deafening bass. A bright spotlight shined straight down, perfectly illuminating a couple making out aggressively right in the middle of the stage. Even from that far away, Vivian recognized Chad instantly. He was clutching some overly eager girl, her face locked in an obnoxious smirk. His hands were literally roaming everywhere, looking completely unlike the stubborn, arrogant young master he always tried to play. In one split second, the squad of girls standing at the entrance went completely silent. You and I know this means war. Inside, the wild hype from the crowd inside, getting louder by the second, going wild. Right out of the hospital, kissing for 30 solid minutes. How are they even breathing? They are obsessed, so what if they kiss? You jealous? Stop right there. Chad has been with her for half a year now. He is not bored yet. How long do we think this chick will last? Longer than Vivian. Do not overthink it. Chad is literally just playing around. Look at Vivian, dumped 3 years ago, yet whenever he feels like it, he just strings her right along. Hearing those guys spit such absolute trash, Vivian's best friends absolutely lost it. they were not taking. This disrespect, they pushed right through the crowd. One marched over to kill. The music, another flipped on the glaring lights. The rest stormed onto the stage and ripped the kissing couple apart. That brutal interruption instantly killed the entire party vibe. Chad snapped back to reality, staring at these furious intruders who seemingly ruined everything. His face twisting in absolute rage. Checking the room and missing Vivian, he breathed a massive sigh of relief. He glared at the crashers. How do you all know about my spot? I never invited you. What are you doing here? The girls were already seeing red. Hearing that garbage, they immediately popped off. It is just a club. If you can come, why cannot we? Need a VIP invite from you? What, bringing your new girl here for romance? So terrified. We will catch you and snitch. Chad refused to look weak in front of his bros and his new girl. Blood boiling over, he aggressively fired right back. Terrified of what exactly? I am just dating. Am I supposed to be shaking that? Vivian might find out. She is literally a married woman. Is she playing the crazy ex-police now? Right on cue, his awful friends clapped and started whistling like idiots. Seeing their arrogant smirks, Chad suddenly thought, oh no. He sensed something was totally off and tried to ask why, but the girls instantly cut him off. Faking those lingering feelings for your ex for so long and your true colors finally show. No more acting, Chad. You have been hiding another woman for 6 months, yet you still want to keep your options open, still messing with Vivian. Hearing that drop, Chad's girlfriend also realized she was being played. Her face dropped. Chad never expected things to explode today. He knew it was bad, so he just decided to double down and run his mouth. Did she not shamelessly beg me to take her back? I absolutely hate her to death. Why would I touch her? She clings to me like a stray dog. I cannot even shake her off. I was sick of her 3 years ago. That is exactly why I ran away. It had zero to do with studying abroad. Right now, the only girl I want is my girlfriend. Are those actually your honest feelings? Getting totally cornered by the intense people. But Chad, he refused to back down, lifting his chin like an arrogant peacock. He bragged that even if Vivian walked in, he would never change a single word. Hearing that, the room fell dead silent. The girls just shared a knowing look and stepped back, quickly clearing a huge path. Seeing their perfectly synced movement, Chad's eyes started twitching like crazy. He slowly turned his head, and there she was, standing right by the door. His arrogant, racing heart instantly completely sank into a freezing panic. The entire crowd below the stage snapped their heads around to look. 3 years later, Vivian was once again the absolute center of attention. But the anger, tears, and total embarrassment everyone totally expected to see completely gone. She only had the chilling calm of someone who had already weathered the storms. We are witnessing a final curtain call. Amidst the giant sea of people, she just stared at the pale man on stage, the guy she loved for years, the very groom who completely abandoned her at the altar. And honestly, at this exact moment, he just looked like a total stranger to her, like she was seeing him for the very first time, despite knowing him for 18 whole years. I heard every single word perfectly. Thank you so much for not continuing to lie to me and finally speaking the absolute truth. Amidst the loud whispers around Chad, Vivian's tone was completely calm and indifferent. It really didn't sound like a fight. She sounded like she was just discussing the weather. Watching her act like this, the girls suddenly remembered a crazy scene from 3 years ago when Ben first stepped up for her. His expression was exactly the same as hers right now. His tone was totally identical. His bold declaration was exactly the same. I am currently single. If you do not mind, I can be your groom. Vivian just calmly announced this to the entire shocked audience. Then she lowered her eyes, a real smile finally touching her lips. She thought about Ben too, but only right now did she actually realize just how much massive pressure Ben was under when he stood beside her that day, just how incredibly careful he had To be a quiet guy, willing to risk absolutely everything just for her sake. Yet it took her 3 entire years to finally clearly see his massive burning love. Thankfully, it wasn't too late. Vivian didn't waste another single second on these completely worthless people. She simply turned around and walked away without hesitation, her steps incredibly firm. Back inside her car, Vivian unlocked her phone and pulled up that unsent message. She finally hit send, but as she stared at the bright screen, a huge glaring red exclamation mark popped up. She stared in shock at the send friend request notification at the bottom, just blinking rapidly. She quickly checked the name in the middle, checked the profile picture on the left. No mistake at all. It was definitely Ben, but why on earth would he randomly block and delete her? She didn't understand. She desperately tried sending a few more messages. Blocked, 100% blocked her once. Calm mind was now crashing with panic. You and I know that feeling. Logic told her something bad definitely happened, but her racing emotions desperately fought to bury that logic, searching for any excuse to comfort herself. He still saw her out the door this morning, just like usual. He looked completely normal. He even waved goodbye. Maybe he just hit the wrong button. Vivian really tried to mentally prepare herself, but her car, just blindly speeding down the road with the pedal to the metal, you feel that panic. She blew past 10 red lights just to get home before dark, but the house, completely cold and desolate. So quiet it honestly did not even feel like her own place. Then she saw the kitchen lights on. Ben must be inside making hangover soup, right? She practically rushed straight in. Yeah, there was soup on the stove, but only a maid was watching the fire. Startled by Vivian, she clumsily bowed and hastily scooped up steaming bowl for her. Vivian had not drank anything, but she took a sip of the hot soup anyway. Wait, it was not that familiar taste at all. Vivian frowned hard. Did the master not make this? The young maid's eyes widened in sheer panic. She stammered an apology. I am sorry, miss. Before the master moved out, he taught me the soup recipe, but I barely remembered it. Please wait just a second. I will make a fresh batch for you right away. But out of that whole messy exchange, Vivian only heard 2 words. Moved out. Her wildly beating heart plummeted straight into a cold, dark abyss. When did he leave? This morning after she left the living room, the bedroom, the study. Vivian frantically searched every single corner of that massive house, but there was zero trace of Ben. Hearing the commotion, the old butler hurried over. Seeing her totally crushed, panicked expression, he finally asked the heavy question choking him. Miss, why did you agree to divorce the master? Divorce. Hearing that word, her whole world spin. She never heard Ben mention any divorce. Why did everyone suddenly assume she wanted one? She frantically racked her brain, desperately trying to recall everything that just happened recently, digging for clues. Ben acting super weird at the cafe. That plane ticket she barely glanced at, those super cryptic words he dropped this morning. I already gave you what you wanted. Remembering that heavy statement, her panic absolutely skyrocketed. She immediately ordered her secretary to track down Ben while she personally drove out to look for him. She hit his pre-marriage apartment, but get this, she arrived only to find the windows completely sealed shut. The neighbor said Ben came back yesterday, trashed a ton of stuff, and looked like he was leaving for a huge trip. Right then, a text from her secretary dinged. Boss, I found out. He bought a ticket to San Francisco 2 weeks ago. His flight left this morning. He probably landed by now. So Ben did not just move out, he actually fled the country. Realizing this, she felt a bone-chilling coldness in her chest. She could not understand why Ben would suddenly demand a divorce and vanish without a trace, becoming her husband. Staying by her side, was that not his dream? After telling her secretary to book a flight to America, Vivian slumped into her car. She did not drive, she just leaned back, staring totally blankly at the blocked chat screen. Her phone, dead for a whole day, flashed a low battery warning. She popped the glove compartment to grab a charger cable. Her Eyes suddenly locked onto a document folder. This time, she finally opened the folder. Sitting there for a whole month, the exact moment she saw the words divorce. Agreement, Vivian began shaking uncontrollably, but she desperately forced herself to stay. Calm, flipping page by page until the end, seeing her own handwritten. Seeing her own signature there, Vivian completely froze. A divorce agreement. Why? She had absolutely zero memory of signing this thing. Her brain went into total overdrive, scrambling to piece together the missing clues. It hit her, Ben was the one who handed this to her, the only time. He asked for her signature was a month ago. He claimed he had a gift. In a rush, she didn't even check the paper. She just signed it and left. Then, Ben tossed it into her car, begging her to actually read it. Well, exactly 1 month had passed. This agreement was legally binding now, and Vivian. She hadn't glanced at it once. Those flimsy pages suddenly weighed a ton. Right then, she finally understood the real reason why Ben wanted to leave. He saw right through her. He knew her heart was wavering in their marriage. He figured she would run straight back to Chad, so he just beat her to it. That so-called gift, total freedom, a signed divorce agreement, he decided to fulfill the stubborn obsession she just couldn't let go of for years. Meanwhile, let's catch up with Ben. His plane touched down in San Francisco right at mid-afternoon. Standing by the main road, he finally reunited with his old college professor, Diana. He hadn't seen her in forever, back during his senior year. She actually quit teaching to start her own business. After 3 grueling years, she successfully carved out a massive foothold in Silicon Valley, and Ben. He officially accepted a job offer from her, deciding to move completely overseas. This brilliant woman in her early 30s was always super approachable with her students, and honestly, the corporate world made her even more down to earth. The moment she spotted Ben, she waved frantically. Ben, long time no see. He pushed his luggage over, grinning widely. Professor Diana, long time no see, she laughed. I resigned, drop the title, just call me Diana from now on. Her warm, straightforward personality made him feel so much better in this totally unfamiliar foreign city. He didn't hesitate, immediately calling her Diana. Smiling, she pulled him straight toward her car, driving to his new place. They chatted endlessly about the past, from boring classes to graduation day. It felt deeply nostalgic. Ben, 6 months before your master's graduation, I actually invited you to the US. You said no, so what sparked the sudden change of heart? His eyes froze for a quick second before acting completely normal. He thought for a few seconds, carefully weighing his words. Back then, I had zero clue what my path was. And honestly, family stuff kept me from leaving, but now I've really thought it through entirely. Since my future is basically a blank slate, I'm just going for it. Who knows, maybe stepping out of my bubble is exactly what I need. Diana, being a total veteran in life, knew perfectly well that young adults often feel totally lost at first. She understood his exact vibe right then and offered some genuine comfort. Life is literally about figuring things out one tiny step at a time. Just look at me. I taught at a university for years before finally realizing the academic bubble just wasn't my thing, so I stepped out to see the real world. How old are you right now? Being lost is totally normal. Just take that brave first step, and you will find your way. You and I both know having Diana beside him felt like a massive relief. Ben instantly felt so much better. After parking, Diana took him straight to the apartment. It was a classic 2-bedroom place facing north. South-facing but with killer lighting, plus a supermarket right downstairs, looking at the perfectly clean room. His heavy travel exhaustion totally melted away. Diana showed him around, explained some essential apartment details, and then completely dragged him out to grab a meal. After eating, they hit the supermarket to buy daily necessities. After dropping Ben back off, she didn't intrude at all. She left him her address and headed straight out. He showered, lying on the bed watching the sky outside slowly turn completely dark. In a flash, it all felt incredibly surreal. Yesterday, you and I saw him bundled up in a heavy blanket back in Jingbei Villa watching heavy snow falling outside. Today, he had flown across the ocean to another city to start his single life. The room was silent, his thoughts drifted, and Ben quickly fell asleep. He dreamt a wild dream within a dream. He was sitting right at Vivian's wedding, but this time Chad didn't run. He married her. Ben watched them exchange rings, vowing to spend their lives together. He left the chapel amidst the loud cheers and kisses of thousands. He returned to the perfectly quiet college campus and fully buried himself in his studies. 3 years after graduation, he flew to the States, started a brand new life, never looking back. And in this short life, his only real connection to Vivian was those 4 years of college. After that, they went totally separate ways. He remained absolutely nothing but some strange male classmate whose name she couldn't even remember. But hey, perhaps because the dream felt way too vivid, he woke up the next day feeling incredibly dazed. Ben literally couldn't separate reality from the dream. He sat alone on the sofa for a long time. Until noon, when a quick call from Diana fully snapped him awake. "You up?" "I am." Right downstairs, spotting Diana's car, he pulled open the passenger side door. As he bent down, he vaguely noticed someone sitting quietly in the back seat. Out of simple politeness, he didn't stare, assuming Diana would introduce everyone once he sat down. After Ben buckled his seatbelt, the person next to him stayed completely silent, but a very familiar voice drifted from the back seat. "Did you sleep well?" Hearing that exact voice, Ben whipped his head up fast. Through the rearview mirror, he saw her face, Vivian. They hadn't seen each other for just 1 day, but she looked totally exhausted. She probably hadn't slept in forever, but her eyes locking onto his were sharply clear and completely unwavering. For a second, 1,000 questions he wanted to ask surged to his throat, but he honestly had no clue where to start. Ultimately, Ben just stayed dead silent. You can imagine the awkwardness. A minute later, Diana realized the vibe was off. She quickly turned to Ben, trying to smooth things over. "This is your old classmate. Vivian, do you seriously not recognize her? She just got off the plane and called me. I figured since you guys were college classmates, we could all grab a bite. You don't mind, right?" Ben, did he mind? Well, in front of Diana, who knew absolutely nothing about their heavy past drama, he had to keep his cool. So Ben pretended everything was perfectly fine, forced a fake smile, and replied, "Whatever you decide works. I am just a bit jet-lagged and dizzy." Diana smiled, nodded, told him to take it easy, and turned to happily chat with Vivian in the back. "Vivian, are you okay? Should I drop you off to rest up first? We can definitely meet up later." Vivian hadn't slept in almost 30 hours straight, but she knew this was definitely not the time to rest. She shook her head. "No need." "All right then, let us eat first. I already booked the restaurant." "You two really didn't talk much during college, right? Who would have ever thought you would?" Such crazy fate, running into each other in San Francisco after graduation. Even though Ben kept his head down, but he absolutely felt her burning gaze piercing him. He knew Vivian was here, and she was here for him. The Lou Group air totally raised. With endless applause, a perfect golden girl, getting served literal divorce papers by an absolute nobody like him. She was probably furious about it. Ben just closed his eyes. He rubbed his temples, begging his brain to reboot so he could actually handle this impending soap opera. "You and I know drama is coming." Meanwhile, the conversation kept flowing. "Not really a coincidence. I traveled all the way to San Francisco for some highly important business, so naturally, crossing paths with Ben was completely inevitable." From her tone, she sounded super close to him, but looking at Ben's cold reaction, they seemed like total strangers. This messy tension had Diana totally confused. "Wait, you came here for Ben, did you guys stay in touch after college? Are you two actually close?" "Just normal." Ben cut in sharply before she could even answer. Hearing that, Vivian's gaze darkened instantly. She pursed her lips tight. "Well, we were college classmates for 4 entire years. Right now it's normal, but as we interact more in the future, We'll get close eventually. Anyway, hey Vivian, are you working in the United States this time around? Did you come alone? I heard you recently got married and that your husband was our classmate too. At that, Ben's heart basically skipped a beat, his hands unconsciously balled right into tight fists. After what felt like an absolute eternity, Vivian finally spoke with a slightly hoarse voice. Yes, but not long ago, he demanded a divorce. I came to the United States specifically to handle that mess. Diana totally didn't expect some casual gossip to dig up such awkward private drama. Awkward silence hit the room hard. Ben clearly didn't want to drag out this topic, so he bluntly pivoted. Diana, are we doing Western or Chinese food today? How much further away? I haven't eaten since I woke up. I am completely starving. Diana shot him an incredibly grateful look and quickly chimed right in. Western food, it's just a few hundred meters down. We are almost there. The meal dragged on for a brutal hour. Diana basically acted as the ultimate social buffer, keeping the conversation alive. Watching Ben bury his face in his food, Vivian could only swallow down all those questions she really wanted to ask. Halfway through eating, a sudden emergency popped up at Diana's company. She had to rush off to handle things, leaving early, and boom, casual lunch instantly turned into a tense standoff between the soon-to-be divorced couple. The atmosphere completely froze. After Ben finished his last bite of steak, Vivian tried handing him a napkin. He ignored it. Instead, he just stood up, grabbed a fresh one from the dispenser, and got brutally straight to the point. Cold tone, whatever you want to say it right now. Vivian's extended hand froze midair. To her, even though it had only been a single day, the guy standing there was totally different from the soft, mild-mannered husband she remembered. Honestly, you and I have to wonder, had he changed, or had she never truly seen the real Ben? Thinking back on their 3 years of marriage, aside from intimate moments, she rarely even looked at his face or paid any attention to his feelings. Ben was always like a pool of still water, no wind, zero waves, no ripples, just quietly waiting right there where she could easily find him. Over time, she had completely forgotten where this deep water even came from, and why did his love suddenly vanish, just when Vivian had grown entirely used to it? This quiet affection started moving again, pulling away from her, heading toward an unfamiliar distance she could barely even reach. She frantically chased after it, only to realize his devotion was never as permanently static as she imagined, nor would Ben wait around for her selfish desires forever. Everything Vivian believed was just a foolish assumption she had completely made up inside her own head. Now, facing this entirely brand new Ben, Vivian panicked. She knew his final decision to divorce definitely had everything to do with her, so the second they sat down, Vivian sincerely expressed her deep remorse. Ben, I am so sorry. Over the past 3 years, I completely failed as a wife. I gave you a warm family atmosphere, and I took your hard work for granted. He knew she meant every single word, but Ben felt nothing from this delayed apology. He understood that between him and Vivian, this marriage was a mistake from the very beginning. He finally accepted that tying his life to hers was flawed from the very start. It was always doomed to fail, because asking someone who literally never loved him in the first place to build a wholehearted home and life together forever, that was just an absurd expectation, especially since Vivian's heart was still stuck on someone else entirely. The real reason Ben asked for this sudden divorce was simply because he realized how ridiculously naive his hopes from 3 years ago actually were. He just wanted to correct his mistake. It had nothing to do with wife duties or atmospheres. Just file that divorce agreement, send over the official certificate, and transfer the money. That was it, period. Vivian froze entirely. On the flight over, she genuinely believed they still had a real chance. She stayed awake all night planning apologies to salvage their broken marriage, but watch closely. Only now does she realize how absolute his resolve truly is. Looking at Ben's calm, completely unbothered expression, pure panic flashed across her eyes. Her breathing grew heavy. Do we really have to get a divorce? Why? Ben stared right back at her, emphasizing every single word with cold precision. I married you because I liked you. I want a divorce because I don't love you anymore. It's that simple. After leaving the restaurant, Ben didn't go home. He headed straight to Diana's office instead. Seeing him arrive completely alone, genuine surprise crossed her face. Where's Vivian? She got busy with something else after you left, so I figured. Ben replied, since I start working here soon, I should come check the place out. First, Diana didn't overthink it. Since she had just finished her work, she enthusiastically gave him a full company tour. After hours, they grabbed dinner together. And then Ben headed back to his apartment. Checking his phone, he saw friend request from Vivian. He remembered the exact words she said before parting. Ways, if your mind is totally made up about this divorce, I will respect your wishes. I wasn't worthy of your feelings. I let you down. I am so sorry, but we were married for 3 whole years, so even if we separate, can we still be friends? Friends, was there really any actual need for them to be friends? You and I both know that makes 0 sense. In Ben's mind, they should just go their separate ways and never speak again, so he was in no rush to accept her request. It wasn't until 10 p.m., right as Ben was about to sleep, that he noticed Vivian had sent another request. This time, it came with a let's check out this wild divorce. Ben sees a note attached. She wants to discuss terms regarding their split. Ben accepts. Vivian definitely does not waste any time with small talk. She immediately points out the major changes she wants to make, sending a red-line document for him to review. Ben discovers she actually changed the original asset division to a 50-50 split. That means once the divorce certificate is issued, he gets half of her net worth, a literal massive fortune. Falling right out of the sky makes him uneasy, so he sends a quick voice message. Right back, he tells her to just stick to their original asset agreement. She does not have to follow marriage laws and give him so much cash, otherwise he is going to feel guilty. Vivian clearly anticipates his honest response. She texts back quickly, saying she knows he never married her for money. She did not change the contract to compensate him. No, it is what the law dictates. This is exactly what he rightfully deserves. She tells him not to overthink. Ben tries case a few more times, but Vivian uses the exact same logic to shut him down. Eventually, our guy gets exhausted, not wanting to argue anymore. He just lets her do whatever she wants. Days pass. Ben officially starts his new job, and he gradually adapts to strict corporate life. 1 month later, he receives the final divorce certificate. It comes with countless real estate deeds, company shares, and huge assets. Staring at all the insane zeros in his bank account, Ben honestly does not know what to do. He just tucks it away, pretending it entirely does not exist, and keeps living his life. Winter passes, spring arrives. He goes to work as usual, but right after walking in, he is called into a meeting by his boss, Diana. The focus of this meeting is collaborating on a massive project with several domestic partners. During the meeting, an assistant is going to be chosen to accompany Diana back home for negotiations. Now watch this, she says. Ben is coming with her. Being suddenly called out absolutely surprises him. He has only been at the company single quarter. Logically, he is entirely unqualified to handle such important work, but since Diana picked him, he cannot exactly decline. After the meeting, they both choose to stay behind. Diana does not beat around the bush. She explains that for this trip, although they must negotiate with 4 companies simultaneously, their absolute main priority is to secure a partnership with the Lu Group. Hearing that name, Ben vaguely guesses what is going on here. He looks at Diana, a clear hint of hesitation showing. He asks about Vivian. Diana nods. After a moment of hesitation, she is just honest. After their brief encounter last time, Vivian actually asked to meet her privately again. She laid the entire groundwork for this project. About him and her, Vivian actually revealed quite a few things. Diana felt it was his private life, so she never Brought it up before, but this project has reached its most critical stage. 2. Ensure absolutely nothing goes wrong. She wants to ask a massive favor. Will he please come back and participate in these negotiations? She knows it is a bit presumptive but hopes he understands. Ben honestly does not get what Diana means. He is just a newbie who just joined the company, with zero background or serious connections. What use is bringing him along for such a massive project, just because he is Vivian's ex-husband? Honestly, that is the only possibility he can even think of. Vivian never liked him. The divorce was clean. She had not contacted him since. Why would Diana think he will compromise? Let's find out next. Alright, let's dodge any crazy misunderstandings. Ben just laid it all out. He hadn't brought up the divorce before because it seemed totally irrelevant, but honestly, since this new project is a huge deal, he had to be brutally honest. Truth was, he and Vivian were practically strangers passing in the night. She didn't even like him. Zero real emotional bond in that whole marriage. Their divorce, completely mutual and totally peaceful. From what Ben knew, Vivian valued loyalty, but when it came to big business, she stuck to her strict principles. If Diana thought bringing him along to the negotiations would boost their chances, well, he was about to pour some serious cold water on that hope. Hearing this bleak marriage breakdown straight from one of the actual people involved left Diana feeling incredibly weirded out. She asked Ben to sit down. She just had to ask, "Are you absolutely sure Vivian has zero feelings for you?" Ben nodded immediately. Seeing his absolute certainty, Diana couldn't help but flash back to what Vivian confessed before leaving San Francisco. "Ms. Diana, Ben and I are actually married. Strictly speaking, we are just separated right now, but I failed in this marriage. He was so disappointed in me and asked for a divorce. Ben is incredibly stubborn. I didn't want to make things difficult for him, so I agreed. But personally, I really want to save this relationship. I just need a little time to calm down and think things through. Ben definitely doesn't want to get back together right now. Could you please just do me a huge favor and look after him for a bit? As a thank you, I am totally willing to partner on the Hello project." Listen closely here. Even though time had passed, Diana vividly remembered Vivian's totally devastated look and her incredibly sincere tone. It was wild to believe that a boss like Vivian would hand over a massive, highly coveted project on a silver platter for a sham marriage with zero actual feelings. But since Vivian claimed that, and yet Ben was sitting right here claiming they had major problems, she just didn't want to pry too much into it. She simply asked for his final decision. "I'll handle the project stuff. Please don't overthink it. I want to bring you partly for my own selfish reasons, but honestly, mostly just to train you. Treat it like a normal business trip and follow standard procedures. Is that okay?" Having worked with Diana for a while, Ben knew she was a straight shooter. She never played dirty little tricks behind people's backs. Plus, this upcoming business trip truly was a rare opportunity, and he absolutely refused to throw it away. So, after agonizing for half a day, our main character agreed. The big trip back was scheduled for 1 week later. He busied himself with crazy work and packing. The closer that date got, the calmer Ben felt. Looking back at his past, it all just felt like a dream. Now that the dream was over, he was finally wide awake. No more clinging to the past. As for Vivian, they were just right back to square one, just an old college classmate now. Ben had already figured out exactly how to handle her when they inevitably met again, setting foot in this very familiar city again. His mindset had undergone an earth-shattering shift. Ben casually pushed his luggage right alongside Diana, laughing and chatting casually as they exited the airport. Mid-conversation, Diana saw her parents waving from afar. She tried introductions, but Ben knew a reunited family would have a million things to talk about, and he really didn't want to intrude, so he politely declined and they parted ways. But watch this, guys. Ben pushed his luggage out of that airport completely alone, only to find it pouring rain. All right, picture this. The streets are completely dead. Ben opens a ride app to book a car. Suddenly, A sleek black sedan pulls up right in front of him. He looks up. It's Vivian. She's walking straight toward him, holding an umbrella. He hasn't seen his ex-wife in months. She looks so much thinner now, wearing a dark blue trench coat. She still looks incredibly elegant, slender as a bamboo stalk. Ben never expected her here. Honestly, it startles him. She walks right up to his face, her eyes swirling with emotions he just can't read. Long time no see, Ben. How have you been? Ben instinctively takes a step back, needing to keep his distance. I'm surviving, he replies, his tone dead flat. This coldness clearly hurts Vivian, but hey, they're a divorced couple now, right? So she quickly swallows her feelings, glancing down at the suitcase in his hand. The rain is too heavy. Let me drop you at your hotel. Glancing at the driver match popping up on his screen, Ben shakes his head, shutting her down. No need. I already booked a car. Then take the umbrella, or your luggage will get soaked. He has no clue why she's suddenly playing the caring ex-wife. A weird feeling tightens his chest. I don't need your help. Honestly, I don't think we should even stay in contact anymore. Don't you agree, CEO Liu? That sentence hits like a needle straight through Vivian's heart. The hand reaching from her sleeve trembles slightly. She forces a stiff, pained smile. Even if we're divorced, can't we still be friends? Ben shoves his phone in his pocket, pulling an umbrella out of his own bag. Watching his ride pull-ups, he says, before the divorce, we were just regular classmates. You and I are from two completely different worlds. No need to force a fake friendship. His voice is dead cold. You and I know that hurts. Vivian is the one left completely stunned. She watches the driver load his luggage in the trunk, watches him open the car door, watches him close his umbrella. It feels like something is permanently slipping away from her. She can't help stepping forward, desperately grabbing the car door right before it shuts. Through the heavy, pouring patter of the rain, her voice rings out exceptionally strong. I don't think we're from different worlds, Ben. Maybe you've heard all the toxic gossip about your background, judging you for marrying me. But listen, I need to tell you, I have never looked down on you. I never once thought you weren't worthy of standing right beside me. You bravely and calmly accepted everything you had and chased your own passions. You never need to feel inferior, living independently. For almost 10 years, this is the very first time Ben hears someone say something so genuine to him. He tilts his head, looking at her, and the corners of his lips curl up just a bit. In a super rare moment, he smiles and says, "Thank you." After he drops his luggage off at the hotel, the rain finally stops. He grabs his bag, rushing over to a restaurant to meet up with Sam. The two bros hug it out, instantly catching up on their chaotic lives. When Sam hears that Ben got half of Vivian's massive net worth, his jaw literally drops wide enough to swallow a whole dinner plate. He throws his arm right around his bro's shoulder, totally ignoring the weird stares from other tables, and starts shouting at the top of his lungs, "My bro is a billionaire now. If I just cling to your leg, my whole life is completely set right." Ben quickly slaps a hand. Ben slapped a hand over Sam's mouth, apologizing to the annoyed crowd. He dragged his buddy straight into a private dining room, totally empty. Sam faked a dramatic sob, whispering, "Did the massive payout actually hit your account?" Ben nodded. "It did, but spending it honestly feels completely terrifying. Like this sudden windfall is just going to be snatched back." Sam absolutely hated hearing that nonsense. He grabbed Ben's hand, immediately launching into a serious lecture. "This is totally legal income. Vivian was generous enough to hand it over, so take it. Zero reason to feel guilty here. It is not like our main character forced his ex-wife into marriage at knife point. Honestly, the guy made a completely solid point." Seeing Ben finally relax, Sam grinned, grabbed the menu, and tossed it straight at the waiter without looking. "Bring us your absolute best dishes. The Australian lobster, everything expensive, acting totally loaded right now." Ben gave him a thumbs up. Sam laughed, asking if his rich guy act was actually convincing. "Just messing with you, you are super cool." Sam laughed. "I honestly just Wonder if big shot CEO Ben over here stays tough when the bill finally drops. You are paying, right? Or are we splitting this 50-50? Sam looked incredibly smug. Ben just smiled and hit the call button. For the check, but brace yourselves, a highly annoying voice interrupted them. Well, if it isn't Ben, they both looked up to see a large group descending. From upstairs, mostly old college classmates, all swarming around one guy, Chad. As they walked closer, Sam immediately leaned in to whisper the absolute juiciest gossip. Get this, right after Ben left, news of Chad cheating completely exploded online. It involved so many people, hitting all the trending searches. Vivian's own friends leaked it. Since then, Chad's reputation has been completely destroyed. Realizing he was doomed, the pale-faced loser tried crawling back. Absolutely hilarious, Chad approached the table, vaguely hearing them gossiping about him. His expression instantly darkened. He shot Ben a totally vicious, furious glare, and his voice dripping with pure arrogance. Didn't you go abroad? What are you doing crawling back here? Think this gives you a chance to reunite with Vivian? She never cared about you back then, and she definitely does not care now. Ben had zero clue why this guy was so mad. He was already divorced, not wanting to waste any breath. Ben just paid the bill and pulled Sam away, but that utter indifference, it only triggered Chad harder. Now watch as he blocks Ben's path completely. You ruined my wedding. You stole Vivian's money. You are just a scheming, lucky gold digger, and you actually dare act all high and mighty in front of me. So what if you got rich? Just look at yourself. You still reek of poverty. Chad's little minions loudly snickered, firmly backing up their boss. Sam was absolutely furious, ready to step up and throw punches, but Ben held him back. Ben stared calmly at Chad, voice dead flat. Vivian gave me that money willingly, just like how those rumors spreading about you are entirely legitimate and completely factual. Boom, roasted. Ignoring Chad's reaction entirely, Ben just grabbed Sam and walked away. That struck a massive nerve. Chad flew into a blinding rage, aggressively shoving a passing waiter. Hot soup went airborne, about to splash all over him and Sam. But watch this. Vivian suddenly appeared, pulling them both right behind her, taking the brutal hit. Boiling hot soup drenched her left hand, her exposed skin scalded instantly, popping up with countless nasty blisters in mere seconds. Her face completely lost all color. Chad absolutely did not expect her to show up right at this exact moment. He panicked and rushed forward, wanting to check her severe injury. Vivian tried her absolute best to suppress that agonizing pain. Gritting her teeth, she glared at Chad, her eyes colder than ice. Out of respect for your parents, I never held you accountable for all the terrible things you have done. But if you refuse to change, I will teach you a lesson you will never forget. Chad desperately tried explaining himself, but Vivian gave him absolutely zero chance. She quickly ushered our MC and Sam, both totally in shock, right out of the restaurant. The cold night breeze woke him up a bit. He looked at that massive burn on her arm, reached into her pocket, grabbed those car keys, and immediately rushed her straight to the hospital. The nurse took one look at the severe burn and gasped, immediately yelling for a doctor. It was super late, and Sam had work the next morning. He had to convince Sam multiple times before the guy finally agreed to head home. The emergency room was left with just the few of them. He turned around, looking at Vivian, who was still trying to endure that agonizing pain. He pulled two tissues, wiping away the cold sweat dripping down her forehead. She looked up, seeing the deep guilt pooling in his eyes, and tried comforting him with a shaky voice. My injury has absolutely nothing to do with you. He targeted me. I should be saying sorry. Our guy knew that in this situation, arguing over right or wrong was totally pointless, so he said absolutely nothing. He grabbed her prescription and went to get her meds. When he got back, her wounds were fully wrapped. The doctor gave them a massive list of strict instructions before finally letting them leave. He drove Vivian back home. You and I know returning to this huge villa, seeing the living Room layout that was practically identical to how it used to be, his eyes spaced out for a second. The butler, seeing the young master had returned, was overjoyed. He rushed forward, blabbering nonstop. "Master, you finally came back. The whole time you were gone, the miss was always waiting for you." But mid-sentence, the old butler finally noticed Vivian's severe injury and froze completely. "Miss, you're hurt?" He pretended he did not hear a single word the butler said. He handed over the bag of medicine, repeated the doctor's exact instructions word for word, and then just turned to leave. Watching his back as he walked away, Vivian felt an empty, hollow ache form inside her chest. She desperately wanted to call him to stay, but the words completely died on her lips. Her disappointed, hesitant expression did not escape the loyal butler's eyes. He was practically dying of pure anxiety, ignoring everything else. He chased after our guy and blurted out everything he had been holding in. "Master, since you are back, please do not leave. For the past 3 months, besides working, the miss just stays in her room staring at the beautiful flowers you planted." Even in her sleep, she mumbles about desperately wanting you back. She flies to the United States every week just to see you, but is too scared to bother you. So she does not even contact you. He did not know a single thing the butler had just said. He genuinely thought she had completely let go and started anew life. Hearing all of this, his first thought was that it was just absolutely absurd. Didn't Vivian only have eyes for Chad? Why would she do these unbelievable things for Ben, her ex-husband? He brushed it off, totally unfazed. He looked straight at the butler, dead serious. "Uncle Zhao, Vivian and I are officially divorced. I've completely let go of the past. Whatever happens in the Liu household has absolutely nothing to do with me anymore. Don't call me master again. Just call me Ben. It's getting late. I'm heading out. Take care of yourself." 2 short days of rest later, Ben plunged straight into the daily grind. He followed Diana, hammering out the tricky details of their new partnerships, picking up a ton of hands-on experience along the way. The project's progress, incredibly smooth. Everything just naturally fell right into place without hitting any major roadblocks. But get this, during negotiations with the Liu group, Vivian herself never even showed up. She just sent a vice president. Ben breathed a massive sigh of relief, handing over the prepared contract. After reviewing those terms, the other party seemed totally eager to cooperate, but dropped one very specific condition. During the contract period, the designated coordinator between the 2 companies must be Ben. Diana shot him a heavy look. She knew this was totally Vivian's doing. She wanted to use this whole partnership to keep Ben securely tied down. After mulling it over, Diana asked for his thoughts. So, right after leaving the Liu Group building, they hit up a cafe. "Ben, I know this is super abrupt, but if you're okay with it, could you tell me about your marriage too?" Vivian. Ben stayed quiet for a long second before finally laying out the entire story from start to finish. 4 years as classmates, 3 whole years of marriage. That added up to almost a third of my life. Yet, honestly, telling someone else about it now, it felt completely weightless, leaving zero trace, almost as if I was narrating some stranger's story. The very things that had propped me up through countless dark nights had eventually been washed away completely by time. Hearing that, you and I would be shocked too. Diana sat in a daze, unable to snap out of it. She literally didn't know what to say. Any words right then felt meaningless. Only pure silence echoed in the cafe. Looking at her deeply sympathetic and totally regretful expression, Ben let out a soft smile. His voice carried the understanding of a guy who had truly moved on. "I know you're worried. You want to win this project, but you don't want me getting hurt. The reason I told you about this past that should have stayed buried is to show you I've honestly completely moved on, no matter what their reasons are for making this demand to me. It's just another job that I need to handle professionally. Even though I lack some experience, as long as you and the team need me, I'll work hard to get it done. I won't let anyone down." Hearing his firm promise, Diana's eyes actually welled up with tears. For her, this project was a massive gamble. That would completely determine her company's success or total failure, so she was willing to do whatever it took to push this partnership forward, and one of the most critical links, this guy Ben, even though taking advantage of this whole situation felt pretty dirty, she currently had just one single move left: use Vivian's lingering feelings for Ben to hit her goal. Luckily, Ben totally understood her predicament and was willing to lend a hand. 1,000 thank yous couldn't even begin to express her gratitude, so it all culminated in a simple clinking of, "All right, let's see what happens next." Late April, Diana packed those 4 signed contracts and prepared to fly straight to San Francisco. Our guy went to see her off. They shared a long, meaningful hug, but spotting a familiar figure far away, Diana just had to ask. After all, that was the exact girl he chased after for 7 brutal years. Now she finally realizes her feelings. Was he really not going to give her one more shot? He knew Diana meant well, wanting his happiness. But only he understood the pure agony of those 7 long years before he finally dragged himself out of the past. If it was just unrequited love, he could handle it. It wouldn't hurt this much, just a simple lingering regret. But when he reached for that distant moon, mistakenly thinking he had finally grabbed the light, only to find a fake reflection staring back from the water, he swore he would never reach for the sky again. Some beautiful things are only meant to be seen from far away, so he told Diana straight up, "Life has no rewind buttons. We must look forward." For an easier commute, he rented a rooftop spot, but the very next day, a brand new neighbor moved right across from him. During Vivian's entire month in Jingbei, our guy would constantly bump into her, supermarket aisles, randomly front of the hot pot joint, or random park corners. Given her high status, she totally did not belong there. He absolutely knew she was stalking him. Sometimes when they crossed paths, they exchanged basic pleasantries just like completely normal friends. Other times, she just silently followed behind him like a literal shadow. Eventually, deep in his own world, he just got used to it. He basically treated her like a free VIP bodyguard. Since becoming neighbors, the chances of them meeting skyrocketed. The bright smile on Vivian's face grew wider every single day. She would bravely step up and ask if he wanted to walk, grab a bite, or chill out. He always found some excuse to shoot her down. Every single time she heard his polite rejection, she thought this was the end. But you and I know better. The very next day she bounced right back, eagerly greeting him, watching her try so desperately to please him. He remembered his own college days, standing right beside Chad. He used to be exactly like her, terrified of making the other person mad, trying so hard to please them that he lost himself. But he was not Chad. He would never sit back and enjoy her desperate attempts to win him over, nor would he string her along to boost his own ego. No way. He simply wanted to live a good life every single day and find his own peace. That was it. Time kept slipping by, from spring to summer, straight into early winter. This massive project, which had dragged out for nearly a full year, finally wrapped up. The day the contract expired was actually his 25th birthday. He booked a direct flight to San Francisco for that exact afternoon. The night before he left, he stayed up packing bags until the early morning. Watch closely, because it started snowing outside. When the clock struck 12, a soft knock hit his door. He opened it. Vivian stood there holding a cake. She was forcing a smile, whispering, "Happy birthday," but he could easily see the deep sorrow clinging to her eyes. He paused for a second before throwing his usual calm mask right back on. He politely thanked her. After lighting the birthday candles, Ben brought his hands together to make a wish. Opening his eyes, he saw Vivian watching him, full of eager anticipation. "What did you wish for? Was it like last year?" The conversation instantly died right then and there. Vivian suddenly remembered his birthday last year, and the warm smile on her lips slowly turned completely bitter. Ben lowered his eyes, totally avoiding her gaze. The heavy atmosphere froze over for a long time. Then Vivian finally asked a super weird question. Ben, last year on the day you left, what exactly did you say? I didn't hear it back then. Honestly, Ben himself couldn't even remember. Memories stained with that cold, damp sorrow are incredibly hard to revisit. Now, in reality, time had blurred them completely. He realized that only those beautiful moments, the ones making him feel warm inside whenever he thought of them, stayed crystal clear. Right now, as a brand new year started, he genuinely hoped everyone he met moving forward would have a smooth life, so he just made up two simple sentences on the spot, calling it a memory. I wished you happiness, and I wished myself happiness too. When Ben woke up, the world outside his window had completely transformed into a freezing wonderland of ice and snow. The heavy snow was still falling down. Getting downstairs, Ben immediately spotted Vivian waiting right by the side of the street. She stepped right forward, taking the initiative to grab his luggage. Her voice carried a complex, totally indescribable mix of emotions. The snow is way too heavy. You won't catch a cab today. Let me drive. This time, Ben didn't refuse. He sensed she still had things she really needed to say. This departure was truly a one-way trip with zero return date. Plus, there were some things he also wanted to put a final period on. The car started, driving incredibly slow, just very, very slow. Ben didn't know if the roads were just slippery from all the snow or if Vivian was doing this on purpose, but luckily, he had plenty of time, so he stayed quiet, just silently watching the winter scenery out the window. Minutes ticked away. Vivian finally could not handle that absolutely suffocating silence of parting. She had to speak, suppressing her completely chaotic heartbeat. She tried using this chance to sway him, to keep him by her side. Ben, do you still remember that Christmas during our second year of marriage? The snow was this heavy back then. My mom felt sick and you took me to the temple to pray. While there, I drew a fortune for my love life, it said, wishing to win a single heart. Hearing her story, Ben actually did recall that memory. Getting the fortune, the temple monk watched the two of them, saying something super cryptic. Destiny is set by heaven, but your trials are totally preordained. If you can awaken early, that is the best path. Ben didn't get it back then. He assumed the monk was just enlightening him. For a really long time, those exact words troubled him deeply, because back then, he truly wanted to spend his entire life with her. But looking back now, the person drawing that fortune wasn't talking about him, and the person she actually wanted forever with wasn't him either. Pretty obvious, right? Thinking about this iron truth, Ben softly chuckled. I don't really remember. Vivian froze up for a few seconds before instantly jumping into a brand new topic. She mostly talked about the trivial little details of their past married life. He had already forgotten some of them, but she recounted everything in painstaking detail. Ben really didn't know how. All right, you and I know Vivian replayed these memories countless times over the past year. Every single detail, crystal clear. She was trying so incredibly desperately right now to use those supposedly warm memories of their marriage to move him, but his face, completely blank. He didn't look like a guy reminiscing about the good old days at all. Before they knew it, the car finally reached the airport. He grabbed his suitcase, totally ready to leave, but Vivian called out to him from behind. She pulled out a box and handed it over, her eyes filled with desperate, burning hope. He opened it and saw a pair of bracelets. He recognized them as the ones Madame Liu usually wore, a literal Liu family heirloom. Why on earth was she giving this to him? If it was a parting gift, it was just way too expensive. He didn't dare accept it. Rejected once again. Vivian couldn't even fake a smile anymore. She choked on her words. You can see the complete desperation flashing right across her face. Please just take it. It's from my heart. It's also what my mother wants. He gently shook his head, his tone remaining totally aloof. I understand what this gift means, which is why I don't want it. I've already told you so many times. Since our story is already over, let's just go back to where we started. Every single word pierced deep into Vivian's heart. She stood in the freezing snow, watching Helplessly as he slowly walked away, step by step, never looking back even once, only. The snowflakes kept falling, landing heavy on her head, arriving exactly right on schedule, giving her that white hair of growing old together that she so desperately wanted but could never actually have. Now watch this. The flight took off, leaving the freezing winter of Jing Bay completely behind. He looked out the window as the plane pierced through those heavy gray clouds, welcoming the brilliant, boundless sunlight up above. He leaned back in his seat, a genuine, totally relaxed smile finally blooming right on his face. The snow in his heart had completely melted. His spring had finally, truly arrived.